Hello, everybody, and welcome to our annual tier list, the Christmas special investigator tier list. Today on Christmas Eve, you're going to get my tier list. Tomorrow on Christmas Day, you're going to get Bryn's tier list. And on Boxing Day, you're going to get Travis's tier list for... We do it every year. It's just a great little fun thing that we like to do to see if our opinions have changed at all. And also because I know YouTube, you guys love tier lists. If you're watching live on Twitch right now, don't tell them that it's not Christmas Eve yet. Don't tell them that. So this is a tier list based on my own thoughts of the game. So if you disagree, more power to you. That is the absolute wonder of this game, is that everyone can have completely different opinions, and most of them are right. That's the most exciting part. This tier list is with the taboo list in mind, and also for 2 and 3 players, because that's how I most commonly play this game. As well, I'm looking at it from my playstyle of the investigator. So while you might have a playstyle that works very well with an investigator, it doesn't work for my personal power level of the investigator, because my playstyle is very much mine. I like to just hit the ground running and get going. Because of this, I will say right now, stats are the most important thing to me as a player. If I see like a good stat line, that's gonna like bump you a little bit higher than a similar investigator with a lower stat line, which is kind of, it's my playstyle. It's just how it is. It's just how it is. So S tier are like the investigators that are like super broken, very strong. I mean, I won't even say broken, but just like very strong, very efficient investigators that if you have a basic deck, you're gonna most likely get out ahead of it. A+ tier are very strong investigators that are missing that little bit of oomph that puts them into the S tier. A tier investigators are just great investigators, just very good investigators that you're going to have a good time playing with. B tier investigators are good investigators. They're just like, they're good. C tier are fine investigators. The investigators that are kind of just like fine. They don't exactly, like, while they might bring something mechanically unique to the table, what they might bring mechanically to the table is unique. It doesn't necessarily mean that their power level is as exciting as their unique mechanic is. And then we have the D tier, which are like the investigators that I think are just outright not good. That, like, if I had to look at an investigator that I think was bad, I would probably point at the D tier. We are looking at the not applicable. This is for any investigators that I do not feel confident on in my power level rating for them. These might be some of the Scarlet Key investigators as we get down to the bottom of the list over here. You can see they're all kind of hanging out. The ones that I don't, because I've only actually played Daryl. I have seen Vincent played. I've seen Keimani played. I've seen Carson played. But I've only played Daryl, so my knowledge on the investigators aren't great. So I'm going to maybe do a prediction, but we also might just put them in the NA and see what it is. So, and I'm definitely ranking on power. This is the fun and tier list. Those are one and done. This for me is on how I view, if I play this investigator, how likely am I to win the campaign with the least resistance. So like S tier is like win the campaign with the least resistance, and D tier is win the campaign with the most resistance. That's like the best way of putting this tier list into perspective. So after 4 minutes of talking about what the tiers were, why don't we dive in and start doing this? So we're going to start with Agnes Baker from the core set. You can see that I have like their little stats on the screen just below me. So she is 5/2/2/3. Her ability is, when you take horror on her, you may deal 1 damage to an enemy or location, limit once per phase, I'm pretty sure. I think Agnes, she has a 5 brain. She has 5 in her do something stat, which means that, like, that is already a thumbs up for her. I don't remember where I put these investigators last year. So it's kind of just, I'm going on feeling. Unlike previous years as well, I'm not going to be ranking within a tier, okay? each tier is just its own block, because there's so much nitty-gritty to this game now that we don't need to worry about like balancing between tiers. So Agnes Baker has a lot of good things going for her. She has the Survivor card pool, which is a very, very, very good splash card pool. And like, she also just provides just a very good, very flexible ability. Her weakness kind of sucks, but if you build correctly, you can kind of just maneuver around it. And then also, like, the game provides so much tempo now that it's very easy to stay ahead of what that weakness can bring. Compare last year to this. Yeah, there's going to be a video coming out in a few weeks after this one where I'm going to be comparing all of our tier lists to our previous ranking. So that is definitely going to be happening. I think Agnes Baker is just a good investigator. I'm also very lucky because I've played every investigator from, like, apart from the Scarlet Keys ones, except for Carolyn and Normal Wendy. And I'm confident on my opinions on Carolyn and Normal Wendy. So I actually have like a fresh new appreciation for every investigator that I've played. Agnes Baker, I think, is just a very strong, very good investigator. She's just good. I do think I like Parallel Agnes a little bit more. I think she is a better investigator. But regular Agnes is still just a good time. Okay, oopsie, don't want to click on those. Akachi Anule, so she is 5'2", which is very similar stat line to Agnes Baker, but she gets an extra point out of it. Her ability is that whenever she places a charge with assets, it gets 1 additional charge. Her card pool is certainly weaker than Agnes, but they're like pretty much... I view them as very similar in terms of power level. They are kind of just the same investigator. Like, I mean, like, yeah, Agnes has a little bit more Survivor stuff that she can do. She can play, like, the Pete Sylvester package, which is just, like, very efficient. It means that when you want to take horror on yourself, you just take horror on yourself and you don't worry about dying. It's nice and simple that way. And I do think that the Akaji can do some cool things with... charges, but like their stat lines are so similar. The things they can do are so similar that these are just like, I think they're like very much the same investigator, and I don't have much more to say. Amanda Sharp. Okay, so Amanda Sharp, 2s across the board. At the start of your turn, you draw a card, and then you put a card in your hand on Amanda Sharp. Whenever you take a test this turn, you commit that card if able. Amanda Sharp is an easy S-tier investigator. So last year, I think I had her at A+. The thing is, though, I think Amanda Sharp has the lowest floor in this game. So when we say floor, that means like the lowest, like the worst that she can do is like her floor. And her floor is, if you're not like prepared to play Amanda Sharp, you can do absolutely nothing. However, if you are able to go to Amanda's ceiling, which I think is the highest in the game, she is kind of just disgusting. She's just like so freaking good. But her first uses of her, you're going to be much lower on this. You could probably live Amanda like in your first play. You'll be like, oh my god, I hated this. But then like you get an unrelenting on her or a perception on her, like a perception 2. It's like a perception 2 on Amanda is disgusting. You just draw a million cards. There's also so many tools that you can use to take advantage of her ability. For example, Pathfinder is very good for her ability. Like, basically, the number of times you can do your test, the more tests you can do on your turn, the better. So, like, Pathfinder is very good for that. Travis he had the telescopic sight, or telescopic lens, or the whatever the fucking... like binocular is, the telescope or whatever it is, pocket telescope, there it is. He used that for Amanda, and then I actually tried that in a deck that I recently played with Amanda, and I think it works. It's very well for like, the more you can like basically use her skill, the crazier she's gonna go. I went from like one card in hand to 8 card in hand while also getting 3 clues in Amanda. Like it's disgusting what her ceiling is capable of. So Amanda, we're looking at this as her ceiling, which is one of the best in the game. Ashcan Pete. 4/2/2/3. He comes with Duke the Dog, and he can discard a card from his hand to ready an asset he controls. Duke can move and investigate at a difficulty of 4, or he can bite at +1 damage at a skill value of 4. I think Ashcan Pete, he's a good investigator. I think at this point now, we're going to actually see a good chunk of investigators kind of living in this tier with how the game's card pool is. Ashcan Pete is good at what he does, and I think Ashcan Pete has a lot of cool things. He's a fantastic flex investigator. That flex is even further enhanced by his 5 splash cards, so you can really have Ashcan Pete do what you want to do. There's a lot of good discard synergy that exists in the game now. One of my favorite decks I played in 2022 was an Ashcan Pete deck with Jacob Morrison, and it was just like, it could solve whatever problem showed up, and we just stopped failing tests. It was a really cool deck, and Ashcan Pete is a really cool investigator, and I think he's just very good at what he does, and he's also nice and simple, so he's still great for new players, and new players will be able to do things because I think Ashcan Pete is so efficient. Bob Jenkins. So if Bob still had his, because remember, this is taboo list, okay? So if Bob still had his the Joey the Rat Eon chart combo, like, it's still very good, right? Like, it still is admittedly a good combo, but it's not at the level that it was when you could just, like, you know, use old keyring as part of his scavenge, so as part of the investigate action on the Eon chart. I do think Bob is still a very good investigator. He provides a level of tempo that is not really seen in this game, apart from likely Will Yorick. Dexter is close. Like, I call this like the Bryn level of tempo, where you want to play assets, but assets, you know, like, they take actions. So if you don't have to spend actions playing your you don't have to play with your cards. By the way, this is not where Bob's ending up. We're just putting him here. If you have to spend actions playing your cards, that kind of, you can fall behind. Assets are obviously very good, but if you can never play your assets for no actions, you're getting that Bryn tempo, baby. And I think that Bob Jenkins provides it in a way that's very, very good. His card pool is the rogue stuff in there. I've seen Travis played him in our Mono Survivor run, and he had a good time. I played him with the Joey the Rat deck with the untabooed Eon chart, and it was honestly disgusting. But I do think I'm going to have Bob just live over here in the A tier with all of his friends, because I think Bob's good, but I don't think he's like notably great. Yeah. That run convinced me that scavenging should die. Scavenging should probably die. Yes, scavenging needs to go away. I remember that Bob cleared like 5 locations of clues in one round. Yeah, no, it was disgusting. It was disgusting. Bob could, you know what? Let's. No, I was like, maybe we'll put him here. No, I think he can live here. Calvin writes, zeros across the board. He gets +1 base value for every. He gets +1 brain and book for every horror on him. He gets +1 fist foot for every damage on him. Yeah, it was the Bob deck actually came from Super Fang on that one. I did a deck tech on it. It's a very good deck. Kelvin, I think he's just a B tier investigator. I think he's good. Kelvin was one of the investigators I most recently played, and he was the investigator that I was most scared of playing again, because my first time with Kelvin was an absolute nightmare. But that's because I was trying to game Kelvin right. I was like, how can I turn Kelvin into not Kelvin? Like, how can I just, like, avoid the downside of his character? So I was like, okay, so Yaddle, we're gonna get rid of our weakness. Short supply, we're gonna get rid of our weakness. Didn't work. It sucked. I had to retire Kelvin. I have seen myself retire Kelvin. I've seen Bryn retire Kelvin. I've seen Travis retire Kelvin. Retiring Kelvin is just like one of the things that happens in this game. When you play him the first time, probably. However, I recently played him, and I didn't try to game his ability. I just said, hey, I would like to... all I'm doing for Kelvin is I'm playing Jessica and Peter. that is a very good Kelvin package. But what I did otherwise with that, I was like, okay, we're going to play Survivor, because Survivor is what I do. And we're going to play the old Keyring Zero thing, because that seems really good for Kelvin. And it was very good. I don't think his efficiency is enough to get him up into the A rank, but I do think I am hotter on Kelvin this year than I was last year. And that's because I played him and I succeeded and I had a really good time with the Kelvin deck. So B tier for our boy Kelvin Wright. Carolyn Fern, 3/4/2/2. Her ability is when a card effect heals horror from a card controlled by a player, they gain a resource. Yeah. Obviously, I know Travis loves Carolyn Fern. I don't want to say any spoilers, but Carolyn Fern has did some work with. Carolyn Fern has done some work in a certain campaign that we have on the channel coming up right away. And I think that she is very fun to build decks for, and I think that she can do a lot of really good things. I think that I'm going to put Carolyn up in the A tier. There's not much to say. I think she's just like, I think she is just a good, just a very good, very always able to contribute to the game, because she has 4 book. She has a lot of tools in her kit. I mean, Carolyn and Dynamite Blast can be very, very, very fun and can lead to some really good moments. That may or may not have happened in one of our videos. And I think that she's very good. She could be A+ tier, but I'm looking for like something spicier for A+ tier, I think, in my heart right now. But I think Carolyn is a great investigator, and I think she's just, like, really, really strong. I think she's a good investigator. Daisy Walker. Okay, 3/5/2/2. Her ability is that she can activate a tome asset, an action on a tome asset, once per turn. As an action, as a free action. That's a great ability. It's a great ability. 5 book, 3/2/2, 3 like in her brain stats, so she can get there pretty good. And then her other stats are there as well. Obviously, with Research Librarian, finding the tome that you want is an easy time. I do think, where am I putting Daisy? I'm trying to think, like, now that my A+ tier is like so empty. I'm trying to feel like, who should my first A+ investigator be? Who would be like the? I mean, because like right now, for like Daisy is in my heart of hearts, telling me to go. Yeah, I think Daisy's gonna be my first A+. That she's just very good at what she does. She gets clues. She's yellow, so obviously she's like, the yellow investigators are going to be closest to the tippy top. That's just, I didn't make the rules. I just am enforcing the rules. And I mean, like, you give her Old Book of Lore and she will pop off in a card selection way that is kind of unheard of. It's like very good. There are obviously other tomes that you can use with her to take advantage. But the Old Book of Lore is just so good. Like, you get some research cards in there. Like, she's very good at hand size. She's very good at research. She's just very good at, like, winning the game. And also, like, the Grim Memoir, the new tome from Scarlet Keys, is very good. Just, hey, how would you like a free investigate action that also draws you a card if you don't want to find a card this turn? It's very good. She has a really nice Mystic Splash that I think makes Daisy really good. And I think Daisy's going to be my first A+ investigator. Daniela Raw. There! Daniela's an A+. I love the hell out of Daniela. I think she is a very, very, very good fighter. I think... the internet's not ready to hear this yet. I said this last year, and I'm going to say it again this year. I think she's a better fighter than Mark Harrigan. I think her ability is phenomenal. Her ability is, like, I think, one of the best offensive abilities in the game. She also can just, like, you know, not die because her soak is so good. Her stat line is gorgeous. Like, it's just absolutely gorgeous. And her wrench is a really good tool, but there's also now basically what I said last year was that if Survivor continues to get good weapons, Daniela is just going to go to the fucking moon. And they have continued, like, well, they didn't really, I mean, she got baseball bat too, which is I think a crazy weapon. Yeah. And I just think that her, it's just going to get better as it goes. I do think Marcus, like, I when I say, like, she's better than Mark Harrigan, it's, like, by, like, a hair, right? Like, it's just the fact that, it's basically just her ability, I think, that is just, like, Tesla's evade or Tesla's damage can be very powerful. But it's, like, the smallest bit that I'm saying this. But I do think that it's, the closest to what was I trying to say? I'm reading chat and it keeps getting me lost in the sauce. But like I just think that if she continues to get good weapons, I thought this last year. I played both of them this year. I've seen them played, and I still just believe that Daniela is just, I think, if not the best fighter in the game, but she is. I think she cracked the number 2 spot. More consistency for me. Yeah, and I think what Travis said in chat, which I don't want to say, but I'm going to say here, but Travis has his own video coming out that I'm sure him and I are going to be recording together, so I imagine there's going to be more discussion for it. But just, yeah, Mark's big thing was his consistency in card draw earlier, but now Guardians are able to keep up with that, so Mark Harrigan's ability is less impressive than it was earlier on. Yeah. I'm here to taint your tier list. No. You can't. At this point, I've played so much Arkham that if someone says that, Kelvin Wright is an S tier investigator, I'll just go, okay, I'm happy for you. All right. Dexter Drake. I think he's a good investigator. I don't think he's on the A+ tier, though. I think he's in the A tier. I think he's a good investigator. I think he's very nice with what he does. I think that when Bryn's playing Dexter, he's a bit higher than this. With me, Dexter, it's probably like closer to the B+ tier. And I'm sure, but most people playing Dexter Drake, I think he would be like in a nice, easy A slot. The rogue card pool is obviously very good. He has like a great card pool, great stat line, and 5 brain. But his 3 fist is actually notable. I did do a fun Dexter deck where I was playing the Colt Vest Pocket. And it was just a very fun time, and actually was very capable of doing things. But it's a very fun, I think a very efficient ability. And I think he's just very good at what he does, but it's not exactly online. I think the level that these people have, just because he is just like inherently a mystic. Diana Stanley. All right, chat. Are you ready? So this is the one that me and the internet have always been at odds with. Last year, I actually, she's the only investigator where I actually looked at it last year to see what I gave her, right? Because I was curious. I think that Diana is better than B this year. I think I'm going to be putting her in the A tier this year. Mostly because while her ability is good, right? Her ability is very good. It's very, like you get your brain up really high. You basically cancel a bunch of cards and then draw cards. Like, you basically cancel a bunch of effects and then also, like, gain resources and draw cards. It's like, it's very good. But one thing I often have cited for Diana Stanley is that you can play, like, Deny Existence 5, like, 3 or 4 times. And to my response to that is, whenever I hear that, I always think, why do I need to play it that many times? Like, what am I doing wrong, right? Because if I need to, like, play this many cards to just, like, either like, you know, not die or just like gain more value on top of my value, it's not really like a selling point, right? That's just like win more. And I'm not here to win more. I'm just here to win. So like for me, that's never been like an exciting pitch for Diana. However, I do think that my most recent playthrough of Diana was a lot more successful for me as a player and made me understand her better as an investigator. And then also obviously seeing Travis play her in Carcosa. Sorry, not Carcosa. Carcosa's futuristic sequel. And then it's your was obviously also very good, but the thing is, like, her early game is still atrocious. Like, there were a lot of times that Travis probably doesn't recall because he recalls the moments where he was doing crazy things. There was like turns where he was just like, I got nothing. Like, he's like, I'm looking for my spell that I can do something with, and I can't really contribute to the game right now. And I think that's what always going to keep Diana, for me, out of the highest tiers, because of my personal play style where I like to hit the ground running. And I think Diana is lacking that for me in my personal play style. Because the early game Diana can be kind of rough, right? You're like looking at the things and you're like, I do think that Brandiga Thugga is obviously very good for Diana. It allows her to like function at every point in the game. And as well as I think that the new Doom tools could be really fun with her as well. But I do think that Diana is good. I think this is obviously the highest I've ever been on her. And this is kind of like my ceiling for her at this point, I think. But I do think Diana's a good investigator. I think so. I mean, A tier is like a great Actually, A tier is like a great investigator. I said B tier was the good investigator. So if people are going to be mad at me that I don't think that she is above great, you can go, dare I say it, suck an egg. Father Mateo. He's fine. He's good. You know, sorry. He's fine. Father Mateo is a fine investigator. Father Mateo is just absolutely okay. Yeah. Right now, it appears that A tier is about average. Yeah, I got some news for chat, okay? You guys ready for this? You guys ready for the reality you can't handle? Most investigators in this game are at the same power level. That's kind of the truth. Like, most investigators live in the exact same power level here. Got some bad news for you. The card pool at this point in this game is so big that it's very unlikely that investigators are going to like, they're going to all kind of be hovering around the same level at this point now. Yeah, Father Mateo, his stat line's not great. 4-3-2-3. His ability is still good. Like, his ability is still good. His Elder Sign is very good. But, like, the Father Mateo gameplay loop is not the greatest. Travis and I just recorded a Father Mateo expanded guide. And we kind of were both just like, we want to try Father Mateo again. But I think every time you try Father Mateo, it kind of goes the same way. You're like, well, that was all right. That was an okay time. He also starts with 5 XP, right? Yeah, he does. That is true. But that is the, that's the balancing that we don't like, you know? Just give him Cyclopean Hammer. Yeah, attacking at 6 can be good. But still, I played Father Mateo with a Cyclopean Hammer, and it's still, you're like, ooh, I wish I had more. I wish I had more goodness. Father Mateo is just a fine investigator. This is where he's lived, I think, in like every tier list I've done, and that's just kind of where he's going to continue living. Finn Edwards. All right, chat, I'm going to let my bias show here a little bit, okay? I'm going to let my bias show a tiny bit here. I have never, ever seen someone fail with a Finn Edwards. His stat line is so good. The brain at this point in the card pool is like not a thing. And like there are so many different fun builds you can do with Finn Edwards. Like Travis and I have built like between us like 5 different Finn Edward decks, and they each were fun and they each were successful. I think Finn Edwards is a great, like, one of, like, just, like, a very, very, very good investigator. This is a bit of my bias showing. I love Finn. I've always loved playing Finn. And I think that, yeah, Dirty Fighting also upped his power level. I think Finn is just like a great guy. I think he's great. His ability of free evade every turn is also really good. I kind of I want to not do any spoilers, but I do want to play Finn in Scarlet Keys. I think that would be a really good time for reasons that I will not say here. And I think that the downside of Finn is that his card pool is kind of poopy, because while Finn got a lot of illicit cards, it doesn't help the illicit side of his deck more, right? Like they gotta start making illicit cards that aren't in green. But because we just got the illicit cycle, that means we're not going to see more illicit cards for a while. It's just like, I understand that green is illicit, but then like, why does Finn have illicit for his card pool? It's kind of just sad. It's like, oh, wet fart noise. Yeah. Love me some Finn though. I love Finn. Gloria Goldberg! Hey, do you want to win the game? Play Gloria. Grandma's good. Her ability is anytime you look at cards from the encounter deck, you get to look at one more, and then you can either discard it, put it back on top, or put it in her basement. So notably, this is still the book version of her. We do not know what we do not know what her actual signatures, like her signature and card and her signature weakness, are going to be. Because I think that might change things a little bit. But otherwise, like as she is with her book version, her ability is kind of disgusting. Right? Like, it's kind of just... You're going to win the game, right? Like, it's just kind of like... You get to determine what card everybody's get. I do think that her general value does go down a little bit in 4 players. Because I think in 2 players, her ability is incredible. Because Alyssa Graham just says, like, look at the top 2 cards of the encounter deck. Get rid of one you hate, or just, like, divvy them out as you see fit. It's a very good ability. And I think in 3 players, it can still be very good. And then when we get her cycle and she gets even more cards that look at the encounter deck, I think she's going to become even more oppressive. Just Grandma is very strong. Granny is a very strong Prophecy of the End. A lot of people think that it's going to get shuffled into the encounter deck. I think that also makes sense. And then if you look at it, something bad happens. Yeah. That's what I'm going to wait. I feel like we're going to be getting some obligations from Marvel Champions for her signature stuff. I really hope she's a 6 investigator and doesn't actually get support. You know, Travis, I agree with that. I think that would be probably the best way of getting it, because I don't think she needs support. Like, maybe an upgraded Alyssa Graham could be good for her that, you know, she can spend some experience on. But other than that, I don't think there needs to be more. Yeah. Okay. Granny's good. Harvey Walters! 4, 5, 1, 2. Anytime an investigator draws a card, they may draw one more. Limit once per phase. So... 5 book. Chat. 5 book is really high. 5 book is like a very good number. His weakness ain't even a problem. I played Harvey. I don't know what people were talking about. That weakness is so manageable. Like, that weakness was like, it was just like nothing. And his ability is very good. But he's only mono yellow. And I do think that yellow has the best, like, 0 pool. And then, like, it's 1 to 2 pool is, like, good. It's good. And then, like, it's 3, 4, 5 pool, and you're like, oh, no! Like, it has good cards in it, obviously. Like, I'm not saying it's a bad upgrade pool, but I do think that most of the time, you're just like, I don't know, I'll take fucking Studious. Because it's like a great card, and it's 3 experience, and that's good. But, like, you're not, like, doing, like, crazy things like with the Rogue pool. Farsight is also good, yeah. Yeah. I think that, I'm trying, like, so I'm waging between, honestly, A and A+, because 5 book is hard to beat. right? Like 5-book just gets shit done. One of the best runs Travis, Bryn, and I ever had was when we built our decks through the One Collection Dream Eater, and Travis played Harvey Walters, and he was just like, get clue, get clue, get clue, get clue, get clue, in a way that is just like, the efficiency was just kind of like unparalleled, right? I think it's going to be, I'm going to put him in the A+. 5-book is hard to beat. 5-book is hard to beat. Jacqueline Fine, right to the tippy top. She's also an S tier. 5322. Her ability is when an investigator would draw a token from the cup, they may draw 2, and you can, or draw, yeah, it's draw 2 or draw 3. And you cancel 2 of them or 1 if it is the auto fail. I think it's that. Like Gloria, an ability that just basically nullifies a part of the game. That nullifies a part of the game is very strong. You get her little signature out. Because, like, the reality is you don't need to really take more than one test that you need to pass around, right? Yeah, as Pegs is saying in chat, like, you only really need to know one, like, there's one test that players will know. It's like, this is the one we need to pass. Usually, per player, more often. And, like, for that test, what she does is she makes it so that resources do not need to be spent. And I think that's what's so powerful about her ability, and why cards like Lucky are good, because you don't need to spend resources until you fail. And likewise with Jacqueline Fine, you don't need to spend resources when you fail. The weak part of Jacqueline Fine is that obviously she is mono mystic. Probably one of the most boring investigators in the game for that. But her ability is so strong, and it's just like says, hey, you're going to pass a test. I wish she didn't have that ability. I think it's just too good. I think it's just a very, very, very good ability. But luckily it's on a Mystic, which means that she's kind of just like sitting on her thumbs. So, you know. Great investigator, though. Very good. Jenny Barnes. Hey, Jenny, how do you feel about the C tier? Jenny Barnes, 3s across the board. And you get to get 2 resources a turn. And that's it. She's a great flex. She's a good flex investigator. But I do think that I have never seen a Jenny that I was like, wow. That's you're killing it. Your Jenny is like is like winning the day, right? I know there's big fans of Jenny, and I think Jenny can be very fun to build for. I think she is outclassed in the big money build. I think Preston is obviously better for that. I mean, honestly, actually, I think just because the thing is, I don't know. Jenny has never impressed me, and Jenny is kind of just here, and that's Jenny. But you know, if you love Jenny, more power to you. Is it Jim next? Jim Culver, baby. 4, 3, 3, 2. You can treat skull tokens as if their modifier was 0. Oh, Jimmy. Jim. All right. Jim, this is something that I've actually been I have been kind of just living in with myself as I've been like getting closer to this tier list, as I've kind of just been thinking about where is everyone falling, because a big thing for me as I was playing through this last year, this 2022 resolution, was that there are only 2 investigators that I felt in their current state could live in the D tier. But those investigators also have enough going for them that they might live in the C tier. So this actually, like, part of me was thinking this might be the first year where I don't have an investigator in the D tier, because I just honestly do think that the card pool is at a point where every investigator can do their thing. But then I thought even further into that, okay? So I was then like, but if every investigator can do their thing, there is reasonably still an investigator, or a pair of investigators in this case, that I think with the same tools still will fall below curve, right? And to me, Jim Culver is one of those two investigators, if you haven't picked that up yet. So for me now, the question is, do I think I'd have a better time playing Jenny, or do I think I'd have a better time playing Jim, right? Because like, if they're about on par, Jim should be in the C tier. And if they are not on par, Jim should be in the D tier. And I do think that I would probably have a better time, about an equal time, playing Jim Culver. So I'm going to put Jim Culver in the C tier again. I have played a Jim deck this year that I think was actually my most successful Jim deck. It did ride on the backs of Astronomical Atlas, which happens to be a phenomenal card. But with Jim Culver, I cleared the first agenda on Echoes of the Past on turn 2. So I got 4 clues in 2 turns. That's pretty good. That's a good rate. It's actually kind of funny that in that campaign, Jim was the reason we were winning and Dexter was the reason we were falling behind. So I think at that point, Jim, I'm going to put him in the C tier for myself. And I think that's just where I think that he should live. Yeah. Joe Diamond, 2-4-4-2 for his stat line. His ability is he has a little hunch deck, reveal the top card, you can play the hunch deck, 2 less cost. Great ability. Great investigator, but as much as I love him, I still think he is a B tier investigator because he is very offensively strong. Like, his offensive stats are really good. 4 book, 4 fist. You get Michael Lee out. 5 book, 5 fist. You get out Scientific Theory or whatever it is. 6 book, 6 fist. You're going like absolutely killing it. And then you draw Rotting Remains and you're like, fuck. And then obviously like Seekers have like the potential in their card pool to like heal horror and all that. But I do think that Joe is, while I love the hell out of Joe, I do think that he's kind of living in this area, even with all the new tools that he got that I think were very good for him. He's just, I think, like he's a good investigator. He's a good investigator. Leo Anderson. Give me the B, baby. Give me the B, boy. All right. Leo Anderson, I think, is a good investigator. His ability is, at the start of your turn, you can play an ally for 1 less. This was a very... I actually just played him. He's my most recent campaign where I played through Crown of Eagle, and he was fun. He's a fun investigator. I'm starting to kind of really enjoy Leo Anderson again, which is a little bit weird because the man's boring as sin. But his 3 book makes him a great flex investigator. We built a flex Leo for a patron campaign once that went very well. And his 4, like, his stat line's really good. 4-3, 4-1. Like, that's a nice stat line. He can soak, so treacheries are less of a problem to him because he's like kind of like his whole identity is playing allies. But I don't think he's a great investigator. I think he's just good. He's good. Leo Anderson, good investigator. You're not going to be upset when you play him. Lily Chen. Okay. 3-2-4-3. You have disciplines that you get, and you add an extra discipline for every 15 experience in your deck. You start with 0. You start with 1, sorry, and then you add 1 every 15 experience, I believe. And you use those disciplines to boost your stats. Lily Chen has the Edge of the Earth deck building, so she's going to start as a Mystic, and then she turns into a Guardian. And I think that Lily is a very competent fighter. I'm a lot higher on Lily than I was last year, I think. Her versatility is very nice. As she gets more weapons that she can play, her combat ability is going to be very good. And I think now, especially that the that Machete was brought down to level 0 with the taboo list, because once again, this is all with the taboo list in mind. You get a really nice level 0 weapon for her as well, because I remember when I was talking about Lily last year, someone was like, you should play Knife. Start with combat and play Knife. Because I always started Lily with Brain, and I was all like, this is poopy. But someone said, just play Knife. And I was like, I'm not going to play Knife. As everyone else who watched the video also, mind you, still mad about that. Everyone was like, oh, I don't know if Knife is good. It's kind of sucks. Oh, what the fuck are you doing playing Knife in your Lily Chen deck? Like, But the reality is that Knife is just, it's fine. It was fine for level 0 Lily. It's kind of a Spectral Razor. It's kind of a kill spell that you just play. Knife does suck, but the thing is, it changed Lily for me because it meant that I started with Fist, right? As opposed to starting with Brain, which I saw everyone who else played Lily, I saw everyone else play Lily as Brain first, and everyone else's Lily was always the same for me. They were always just kind of like, well, I kind of just suck at level 0. But the 5 Fist into Knife is like the way to go. And now that you have Machete, you don't need to run Knife anymore, which is great. You don't have to run that. You also have Runic Axe at level 0, so I think Lily is like very good. Her versatility is very, very powerful. The abilities on her disciplines are like super poggy. I think that Lily is in an A+ for me. I think she's a fantastic fighter. I think she's very good at what she does, and I think she has a very fun gameplay loop as well, which just kind of further enhances it. Lily, thumbs up. Lola Hayes. Lola, I'm going to just say it right now. This is your year. You're in the C tier, baby. Everyone, play the song. Play her song. Play Lola's song. She did it. She made it. She's out of the D tier, chat. She's in the C tier for the first time on one of these tier lists. I'm also probably realistically the only person of myself, Travis, and Bryn who's going to put her in the C tier. And it's mostly because, like, to me now, she's kind of just on par with Jenny, right? Where it's like a rough go. Like, realistically, this is what you could look at. Like, realistically, this could be also accurate. Not to, like, rain on anybody's parade, but, like, Travis says, I'm going to put her in the C tier now. Go for it, Travis. Prove me wrong. But Lola, I think that her the changes in the taboo list made her a lot less like, like she has a bomb inside of her chest that eventually is just going to burst. But it doesn't mean that she is like a better spike style investigator. However, I can understand that her deck building is still very fun, and now it means that you're not punished for exploring her deck building, which is her ability. She's still not great. She's just fine. I think she's fine at this point now. She's just a fine investigator living with all these other investigators who are also kind of just fine. Luke Robinson. Great ability. Great stat line. Did we ever find out if we wrote that Luke had a great stat line in I need to find this out 1 second. Yeah, because Travis and I were joking in our the Father Mateo Expanded Guide. We said that he had a bad stat line, and then Travis realized that he has the same stat line as Luke. I'm going to get into this is kind of just memeing. This is not actually true. I do think that Luke has a better stat line than Father Mateo for reasons we're going to get there. I'm also checking right now, too. All right, let's look up Luke Robinson Expanded Guide. Great deck building, gate box. No, it was not. The stats were not mentioned. Okay, we're good. We're in the clear. Megarius, thank you so much for the follow. So, while we say that Father Mateo is a bad stat line, I think Luke's stat line is actually fine because he's likely to boost his book and obviously then, use his book for other things. It's a very natural, like, Travis, when he plays Luke Robinson, often plays not Key of Ys. That card's been banned at our table. St. Hubert's Key, the good but, like, less powerful key. And And then, like, his stat line actually can really depend on what you have. Divination is also really nice for him because then you can use deductions in Divination. But let's not, like, beat around the bush anymore. The real reason you're playing Luke Robinson is that juicy gate box, right? You want to smoke the witchweed, and you want to have a great time smoking the witchweed. And I think that Luke is very good because of that. And no matter what, if Luke's stat lines were, like, Preston levels, I'm sure he'd still, like, be able to do some broken shit due to the way the gate box works. Yeah, his ability is just so fucking good. It's so fucking good. If he had a better stat line, I think Luke could be S tier. And if someone said that Luke was in their S tier, I would be like, yeah, that's totally fair. Luke is a very, very, very strong investigator. Mandy Thompson. Okay. This is another one that I've kind of been, like, thinking in my head. Okay? Because I was like, Mandy's ability is now going to be less consistent due to the way that there is a 50-card deck is now her limit. However, if you're finding cards, it doesn't matter if you're less consistent about it, right? Like, if you're just getting extra cards on, like, search effects are good because you get a card that you want to get. Mandy is good because you get an extra card on that search event you would already be playing because you want cards, right? Like, Mandy's ability doesn't make search effects, like, playable. Search effects are always, like, playable. That's the thing, right? Like, Mandy is just, like, taking those effects that are already playable and then making them even better. Coupled with this, she has one of the best stat lines in the entire game. 3, 5, 1, 3. Her ability is just a very much of, it's just like you look, either when you search, you either get an additional 3 or you grab an additional card on that search. And also, she's not mono yellow, as D Scarpack was just saying in chat. Like, she has the juice to choose between 3 other classes. I was even like, in my head, I was like, you know what? I might entertain the idea of putting Mandy in A+. But then I talked about it, and no, she is an S-tier investigator. Easy. She is easily still good. Even at this, like, 50 card. The first time we played Mandy, that when Travis played Mandy, Travis played her with 50 cards. And she still killed it. Marie Lambeau, 4413. Her ability is, if there's Doom on an asset, or Doom on a card you control, you get to take an additional action on a spell card. An event, an asset. She got herself some nice juice in the Scarlet Keys box. There was some good juice for our friend Marie Lambeau. But I don't think it made her, like, particularly, like, obviously she's better, right? But her stat line's, like... So, like, Gloria Goldberg is, like, her stat line's better than Marie Lambeau's, right? Her ability is better than Marie Lambeau's. And her card pool is better than Marie Lambeau's. So I would rather, like, this sounds a little bit weird, but I'd probably rather just play a Doom deck in Gloria Goldberg over Marie Lambeau. The extra action a turn is notable. It is actually, like, good. When I played Marie Lambeau, I got use out of that extra action. It is very relevant. But, like, the thing that really gets my goat was that in the Scarlet Keys, they brought in these new hand assets that are really cool for the Doom archetype, but then Marie can't play the upgraded versions. Like, what the fuck was that about? That's such a shame. I think those would have been really, really nice for Marie. Like, I think last year I had her on the B tier, and I'm, like, definitely between A and B again. Yeah, I think it's like even I'd rather probably just play Agnes in it. Honestly, I'm putting her in B tier again. Sorry, Marie. Yeah, I think it's a B. I think it's a B for me, buddy. Like, she's definitely, like, a more improved and can be more fun. But I think that it's, like... I just think other investigators do it better. which is kind of a shame. Just kind of a shame. Still had fun with her, though. I still think she's very fun. I just think that her, the 4-book feels a little bit strange. Yeah. Mark Harrigan, A+. Great investigator. Very strong. One of the best fighters in the game. 3253 stat line. He has Sophie with him, which he can take a direct damage to get +2. So his stat line is really 5475, which kind of sounds crazy. If he has, when he takes damage on a card he controls, he gets a draw card. Very good. If he gets too much damage on him, Sophie gets angry. I've only seen it in a few times happen. But he's a very good fighter. Mark Harrigan is fantastic at what he does. Very strong boy. Very strong. Minty Fan. Minty Fan is 4422. Her ability is, when someone commits a card to a skill test at her location, they may add a wild icon, limit once per player per round. I love Min. Min is one of my favorite investigators still. And I've loved the hell out of Min every time I've played her. I have played a lot of different types of Min. I have played a Min scavenging deck that was still a good time, but her efficiency level, I think, is still lower than others in the same kind of sphere. Her stat line is notably very good. And obviously with skills, she can kind of do everything. But I can't tell you the number of times that I've played Min. Actually, I can tell you it's probably like 3. Where I've played Min, and we've been like, I guess I'm going to try to evade something because we're kind of desperate. And while she can do that, it's good. It's kind of just one of those things you're like... It leads to these desperation moments because I think that her clue tempo cannot be as efficient as 5-book investigators, because she's going to need to spend cards to get clues at the same rate that they would, because Min with a magnifying glass puts her to 5. Daisy or Harvey with a magnifying glass puts them to 6. And 6v5 is a lot different, because now like 4-shroud locations are just, I'm going to get through that on standard. I think Min's good. Remember, B tier is a good investigator, but I don't think she's like particularly like great or fantastic. I think she's just good. And this is someone who loves Min. I love Min. Before people yell at me again. They yelled at me last year. But that is the price of making content on the internet, right? The scavenging deck, I think, was a good time, but the problem is she still has 4-book. Yeah. But she's very fun. The Survivor carpool is really good. Unfortunately, I do think she's about to get outclassed by Daryl with the exact same kind of pool. What can I say? Monterey Jack. 1, 4, 2, 5. His ability, after you end your turn, if you are 1 location away from your starting location, the location you started your turn at, gain a card or draw a card or gain a resource. And if you're 2 away, do both. A little bit awkward in his deck building. It's turning into Seeker only, as I talked about earlier. The Seeker card pool is not exactly juicy, as I said earlier. Like the upgraded Seeker card pool is not exactly juicy. You kind of want most of that juice that's at level 0. So his level 0 deck is kind of really awkward. But I do think his ability is very good. And he is obviously like the best the best Clover, who you can just like be like, oh no, Monterey Jack's going to go do his own thing. Like we don't even need to worry about this guy. He can just go like fuck off, like 8 spaces away from us, and he'll be okay. And while Ursula can also do that, I do think that the 5-foot is a very big difference. The 1 brain is a thing. We'll be real. But because you can run like, you handle this one, and like, you know, so you can get into the horror healing that exists in the Seeker class. It doesn't really, I'm not too worried about that kind of thing. Like you could even run the Tennessee Sour Mash if you're kind of thing. And then also like, yeah, higher education as you get the upgrades. It's kind of just, he's very good at what he does. I think I'm going to put him in the A tier. He's going to be our first A tier in a while. It's been a while since we've had an A tier investigator. But his ability to kind of just, do what he wants to do means that your goons can protect, like, other people. He's a good flex investigator that doesn't solve problems, but you can also kill people with Monterey Jack. I've seen a kill Monterey Jack, and it was a good time. His ability, I think, people don't appreciate as much, and I think they undervalue his ability. I think his ability is quietly very powerful. Very good for hand-sized decks. Nathaniel Cho. 3-2-5-2. When you deal damage with an event, deal 1 more damage once per round. I think that's his ability. I haven't played this guy in a while. He's mind-numbingly boring. And I've done it. I'm pretty sure Travis has also done it, where you've tried to build a deck once per phase. Okay, once per phase. That is better. We try to build decks where you kind of like don't play normal Nathaniel Cho. You're like, I don't want to play these boxing gloves, and every time you're just like, yeah, it was fine. But he's a very efficient killer. I think he's in the top 5. If I had to say my top 5 fighters, you can kind of see them here, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. I wonder who the last one is going to be, Chad. But yeah, he is in the top 5 fighters, I think, which puts him at the A+ tier. Like, he's just very good at what he does. He kills like nobody fucking, like, his potential to just like explosively kill an enemy is really good. The problem is that, like, there's only one way. But we're not talking about the one way. We're talking about just how efficient he is as a thing. But yeah, I've done it. Travis has done it. Where you're just like, you know what? I'm not going to build a traditional Nathaniel Cho. And you're just like, oh, okay. That sucks. Norman Withers. 4-5-2-1. Play with the top card of your deck revealed. You may play cards once per turn on the top of your deck as if their cost was reduced by 1. Who cares about that? We're going to talk about Astronomical Atlas. Last year I had Norman Withers in my A+ tier, and I think he also lives in the A+ tier. Great investigator. 5 book. You're probably noticing a trend, aren't you? If they have 5 book, they're probably going to live in the A+ tier. Yeah, probably. Fantastic investigator. The Astronomical Atlas loop is kind of just like, and also like the Livre de Bon or whatever it's called. It's very good. I don't think we finished. No, we never finished it because it was our Innsmouth rerun that got canned because COVID and Edge of the Earth took its place. But I'm pretty sure that was the Travis Norman Withers deck when he realized that he could loop. You could loop the deductions around, and he was kind of just like, excuse me, this is disgusting. I can see with an expanding card pool that Norman Withers gets even better. Because he has the Zero Seekers. And as I said, Zero Seeker is kind of like the juiciest part of the Seeker class. And then he gets into the high Mystic cards, and it's like even better. As Ezekiel Abaddon says in chat, S tier for them. If someone puts Norman in the S tier, I won't even fucking blink. Like, I'll just be like, yeah, that's totally fair. I think for me, he's an A+ because I don't think, like, what he does is obviously very good, but I don't think he's just, like, so effortlessly can do things like these guys can. That's just my thought, but I could be wrong. We can see what more time does for Norman Withers, but I do think that Norman Withers is a fantastic investigator and deserves to live up in the A+ tier. Patrice Hathaway. So, I was down on Patrice for a long time, and I've recently played Patrice, and I think she's fine. I think she's good. I think she's a good investigator. She's going to live up in the B tier. I think that she can do a lot of cool things. I previously have stated incorrectly that I thought there was only like 2 builds for her. I was recently shown another build where it's like, it's all about playing assets and like stuff like that, and kind of just like taking best advantage of your hand. And it's good. Like, it's in our current Edge of the Earth run that we are doing on the channel that is currently on hiatus just as we finish up our Scarlet Keys run, which is going absolutely flawlessly, by the way. She's fun and she's good. She's good. I got, like, from when Travis said, like, oh, you're just bringing a good deck. And I was like, yeah, I guess I am. Patrice is just, she's good. She's good. She's a good investigator. She is. And she's a very, I think, like, as I was saying earlier, how, like, this, like, sometimes their play styles, like, Patrice is such a unique playstyle that her playstyle is S, but I think that her power level for me is still down in the B tier. This is something that I said would happen, especially once we get to the other ones. Preston Fairmont. Ones across the board. Uh-oh. His ability is you get the family inheritance where you get 4 money that you get to spend every turn. I think that's all his ability is. I love Preston. I think Preston is very strong. How strong do I think Preston is? Great question. I mean, I have to answer it. That's kind of like the whole point of this tier list, right? I think we're going to put Preston up in the A tier. I think Preston's very strong. I don't think he's A+ tier. I think that, like, while what he can do can be very good, his big money play is absolutely disgusting. You get Unscrupulous Loan. Like, Unscrupulous Loan just kind of cracks it open. You give him Well-Connected 3. There's a lot of tools. I haven't played a poor Preston deck in a while, or what D. Scarpack is saying, an Ancient Covenant deck could be fun with Preston. You have to work for Preston, but you don't have to work hard. 4 money a turn is really good. And his card pool is just getting better and better. He got very little in Scarlet Keys because of the whole illicit thing. But I do think that he could make some work with the Survivor Tested Zero thing, I think, kind of nicely. That could be a fun build to try. Maybe I ought to meme it up with Preston Fairmont a little bit, our next run. But I do think Preston's very good. I think he's a very strong investigator, and I love playing the hell out of him. Rex Murphy. I've seen a lot of discourse on the internet that Rex Murphy is not as strong as people say it is. The reason why people love Norman is because he can loop deductions, right? Like, that's like what everyone like raves about Norman, right? Well, what if I told you that Rex was just deduction, man? He's still an S tier. I did a sealed run with Myriad on our channel, and I had Rex in my sealed deck, and it didn't feel like a sealed deck because Rex's ability is just so good, right? Like, deduction every turn is just fantastic, right? Like, it's just a deduction built into his kit, you know? Yeah, 1 deduction a turn is still incredibly strong. Like, yeah, what's a sealed deck? Oh, so I had, like, a limited pool. So, like, I took his entire card pool, and I took, like, 50 level 0 cards and, like, 40 upgrade cards, and that was all I could build with for it. The new Grim Memoir with him seems hilariously amazing. You're right. 100% you're right. And, like, you have to work for it a bit. He doesn't have 5 book, but he has a stat line and a weakness that is more of an annoyance than anything else. And then, like, when I saw Bryn use the Lucky Cigarette Case with him, I was like, well, that's Poggy. I randomized it. It was random. A randomized card pool. But Rex is just still a deduction a turn is a very strong effect. Rita Young. All right, everybody. Tasty Toast isn't here watching right now, but we know Tasty Toast is a very big Rita Young fan. Every year on this tier list, Rita Young has moved up a tier. I think last year she was on the B tier. Isn't enough? Is Rita Young moving into the A tier? She got Dirty Fighting. Dirty Fighting is an incredibly powerful card for Rita Young. Turns into her an actual fighter. Baseball Bat's very good for her. Derringer's very good for her. Sweeping Kick's obviously like, you know, like she had Sweeping Kick last year, but also very good. There is the new upgraded breaking and entering. Like, Rita is, I think, poised to now be a good a very good investigator. However, she still has a very bad weakness. One of it just absolutely neutralizes her. But, like, maybe they were just playing the long con, and they were like, we knew how strong Rita was going to get. I don't think Rita is going to be an A+ tier for me, but I do think Rita is going to crack the A tier this year. Rita, you've done it. Dirty Fighting is disgusting, right? Like, it's just So, because before with Rita, the problem was that you just evaded enemies, right? But now with Dirty Fighting, you can evade an enemy, and then with the baseball bat, for example, attack at 7. What? And you also get a ping and a damage, right? Great. It's going to be so good for her. I think this is Rita's. I can't imagine like she's going to go higher than this. I think at this point now she's kind of hit her ceiling because her ability is kind of still just I evade. But it is she is very good at what she does now. She is very good at that. Good job, Rita. Tasty Toast, that one's for you. Roland Banks. Roland Banks is a fun investigator. Stat line 3342. When you defeat an enemy, gain a clue. Discover a clue your location. My dear friend Roland. I'm going to put you in the B tier. I just think that, yeah, Roland is... Like, he's not bad by any means. I think he's very good at what he does. And I think there's a lot of fun things you can do with Roland. But I do think that I've never been completely impressed by a Roland. And there's a point in every game with a Roland when you hear them say, "Ah, fuck, I drew cover up. I need you to stop playing to help me." Which you will 100%, because a Roland with trauma is bad news, right? You will stop and help them. Like, I'm not saying like you're not gonna be like, you're wasting my time, because it is actually a very important use of your time. But it basically just says, hey, we're gonna slow down the game's tempo so I don't take trauma. It's a rough weakness. I do love that time when Travis accidentally shuffled it back into his deck and we had to clear it twice in a scenario. We did it because you gotta support your Roland when they're feeling the pain. However, I will say, I wish more investigators were really nice, like Roland, like kind of lived in this area, because I think Roland is still, one of the most exquisitely designed and feeling investigators. I think Roland is very good at what he does, and I wish more people were kind of like closer to Roland's level, where stat line was like this. He's solid. He's a solid investigator. He's in the good tier. All right. Safina Rousseau. 4224, Joe Diamond's inverse. Safina's very hard for me to grade, and most of the time I just end up putting her in the B tier. And I think that's where she's going to live again. Oh, I'm so sorry, Safina. I've never, she's good. She's good, but I've never, even, in the high points of Safina Rousseau, I'm like, that's cool. Anyways, we gotta keep playing this game. Yeah, I just never have anything to say about Safina. I think that she's, she's good! She's good, but I don't think she's particularly, great. There's obviously a lot of cool things you can do with her. That new, I don't know the name of the card, but the one from Scarlet Keys where you can, kill something with Doom or place Doom on something with double. It's very good. I mean, there's a big asterisk there. You also got to find the double in your deck. String of Curses, yeah, thank you. There's an asterisk that you need to find the double in your deck. And you might have a chance, but there also could be, you're just well, I didn't, so I guess, fuck me, I guess. And I think that there is some cool things for Safina, and she's very unique, but she kind of lives in that world of Patrice, where I think that her idea is really cool, but, her power level is just kind of good. And there's nothing wrong with that, of course. There's nothing wrong with that. Silas Marsh. She's a lot better now with the green tutor. I can agree with that, Travis. I can definitely agree with that. The friends in low places to actually dig it out. And you can, that's a great point. Like I said, I just don't have much to say about Safina. My boy Silas, 2244. Once per turn, when you have after you reveal a token, you can return a card committed to your hand. Otherwise known as Let's Break Unrelenting. I don't even think this is my bias. I think this is just like I think he's still very good. I think that he is the worst fighter of the group still. So I think he's like in the 6th spot for fighter. But his ability with Unrelenting basically cracks him open. He could, like, if someone said they found Silas in the A tier, I would personally think they're off their rocker, but I would not be opposed at all to it. I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. For me, in my playstyle, Silas is an easy A+ to me. He's just like a fantastic investigator. He's a very efficient fighter. He's a survivor. You can build a deck that just doesn't fail tests. That's kind of sick. And then looping the skill cards that you can loop. Looping the skill cards that you can loop are really really powerful. Discard Pack saying in chat, he's able to do more than 2 damage per action reliably, and I think he's not as good as any of the other A+ fighters IMO. And as I said, if people like view him on a lower tier, I can completely accept that. I have had no problem dealing 6 damage a turn every turn with Silas. Like it's been no problem. It just like it works for me, right? Like it is my exact play style. But I can definitely see it being a thing where people don't resonate, like don't work for him the same way. However, his Elder Sign is the strongest in the game, in my opinion, because you just grab back a Resourceful to grab back your Lucky, passing the test. Pretty good. And then him with Unrelenting, it's just... Travis and Bryn have asked me to, like they haven't asked me, but they've basically been like, can you never do that again? Because it's kind of just boring to watch me be like, commit this, +1/0/0, draw 2 cards. Okay, I'm going to do that again next turn. Every turn, kind of just put the loop like that, is a little bit poopy. But, as I said, I do think of all the fighters on this tier, he's like the 6th best fighter in the game, I think. Sister Mary, otherwise known as C-tier Mary. We'll workshop it, chat. She's fine. Every Sister Mary is a little bit awkward. It's kind of just their thing I always find. They're just a little bit... They're always like, I wish I could do a bit more right now, but I'm going to kind of just hope I draw a Blessed token. And you're like, okay, I get it. But yeah, no, I think she's just fine. I think she's a fine investigator. Her ability is you put a Blessed token in at the end of each round. Start with 2 in the bag. Yeah, but her and Father Mateo they're kind of just, you always just play them and you're like, okay, that was fine. Yeah. I have, like, there's high moments I've seen and I've experienced myself personally with Sister Mary, but there's also a lot of times where you're just like, oh, this is going to be a tough turn because I'm Sister Mary. Yeah. She's stronger than Father Mateo, though. Father Mateo, you got to hit the gym, brother. Not that strong women are bad. It's just Father Mateo should hit the gym. He's got to do less cardio. He's got equal amount of cardio, but read less books. All right, Skids O'Toole, 2, 3, 3, 4. Once per turn, you can spend 2 money to gain an action. So Bryn is playing Skids in our Edge of the Earth run, and I don't think I've seen him use his ability once. His ability at this point of the game, I think, is like... It's just like kind of like outclassed, I think. Right? It's like not great. I think he used it exactly once. Yeah. And that's not great after, 4 scenarios now? Only using the once? I think Skids... this is a bit of a bias from me, right? It's a bit of a bias, but I think Skids is going to be my only D-tier investigator, I think. No, that might not be true. There might be someone else joining him, potentially. But... Skids is, once again, this is my own personal bias. I've never had, like, a great time playing Skids. I've never seen anyone have a great time playing Skids. I know it can happen, because a lot of people play this game, but in my thing for this game, Skids is kind of just there. Parallel skids, though. Let's rock. Stella Clark. 3, 2, 3, 4. When you fail a test for the first time in a round, take an additional action this turn. S tier. She's still very good. 3 copies of neither Rain nor Snow are kind of poggy. I recently played her, and I did not try to exploit neither Rain nor Snow to my advantage. I just played with the Survivor Old Keyring 3 from Scarlet Keys, and it was still just very, very powerful. Very, very efficient. And who would have thought that turning a failure into a positive is a good thing? Especially like when you it's like you basically don't even take the test, and you might even get some clues out of it, right? Like, look what I found. It's kind of nuts. Megarius, thank you so much for joining us with your Twitch Prime. Welcome to the Golden Table. It's a pleasure to have you. Thank you for supporting the channel. And then, you play her with Quick Learner. So that's kind of I think the weakest part of Stella is that, she works at her best when she plays with Quick Learner, which means you got to put a bunch of experience into your deck before you can get there. But she has 8/8 for her stats for some reason. And, her, you can just take it in the thick of it to get your 3 experience for the Quick Learner, and then just be like a normal investigator. So... Megarius Twitch just randomly suggested me this channel, and I have the Arkham Horror LCG standing in front of me as we speak. Still haven't played it, though, so loving this discussion. Oh, if you haven't, you should check out our YouTube. We have, literally more Arkham Horror videos than, I can even fathom at this point. So if you want to get into the game, if you want information about the game, that's where to go, baby. We play a lot of this game, but welcome. Welcome. Glad Twitch randomly suggested this to you. Stella Clark is still very powerful. Incredible investigator, and yeah, she's good. Tommy Muldoon! 3/3/4/2. When an asset you control is defeated, gain resources equal to the amount of damage and or horror on that investigator. Tommy Muldoon, I think, is always going to live here. Tommy Muldoon is always going to be, I think, in the B tier. His investigator, you just look at, you're like, yeah, Tommy's good. Yeah. I always feel like when I'm playing Tommy, I'm just spinning my wheels. I could see that too, right? I think he's a good, I think Becky is a very good, very, very good weapon. And it's kind of just, this, I've never had a bad experience with Tommy, but I have a bunch of, okay experiences with Tommy. Tommy's just a good investigator. There's not much more to him. He's just a good guy. Tony Morgan. 2, 3, 5, 2. He has his bounty contracts in play, and once per turn he can take an engage, an attack, even maybe an evade action against something with a bounty. Maybe not an evade action, but he's a rogue. And then he can place bounties on things when they come into play. 5 Fist. I still think Tony's the best fighter in the game. His 5... He's in Rogue. And he gets to take advantage of the rogue weapons and other players can't, right? If you look at other rogue investigators we have in the list, right? 3, 2... Well, you're not a rogue. 3, 2, 3, 2, 3. We see a trend. We see a trend. 2 over here, right? We see a trend where rogues have low fist, and their weapons are kind of designed around that. And Tony just looks at that and says, I don't fucking care. Give me that Mauser. I'm going to shoot this thing, gain a resource every turn. And his extra action to do it is really good. And he has a great stat line on top of that. It is just a very, he's a very efficient fighter. And he also just yeah, he has 2 brain, but 2's more than 1. And he also has like a bunch of tools that he can take advantage of to not die. He's a great fighter. I think he's still the best fighter in the game. I haven't seen him played in a while. I'm playing him right now, and he's like just absolutely slaughtering things. But he's not exactly yeah, there's nothing wrong. There's really like I whatever a lot of people say about him being fragile as a weakness, I don't see that personally. I don't see that. It's not really a thing. And even his signature weakness is like not even a problem, right? Honed Instinct for Tony? That sounds like a great idea, Stu Dunsparce. Great investigator. Trish Scarborough. Great fucking investigator. A+ tier. Is Tony still number one fighter? I think so, yeah. For me, my order would be Tony Morgan, Daniela Reyes, Mark Harrigan, Nathaniel Cho, Silas Marsh, in that order. That would be my top 6 fighters, I think. But Trish Scarborough, her ability, so 2-4-2-4. Oh, that's fun to say. Her ability is when you discover a clue, if there's an enemy at your location, either discover an additional clue or evade an enemy at your location. Probably the best card pool in the game, right? Oh yeah, I keep forgetting about Yorick. Yorick probably beats Nathaniel Cho then. Yeah, Yorick probably beats Nathaniel Cho. We can all agree that Trish has the best card pool, right? Like her card pool is insane. Her card pool is only going to be beaten by. No, I mean, I think Trish, because she's 5'2", right? Second best when 05-02 Rogue drops someday. I don't know. I think that the Rogue, like as I was saying, I think that the Rogue, I think Rogue High is better than Seeker High. Yeah. Because the Rogue High end is so good. And then you get like the gray, because like as I was saying, like I think that the best part of the Seeker class is is level 0. Time Roller, 43 months of the Golden Table. Thank you for your support. But Trish is incredible. Like Trish is like an absolutely stellar investigator. While I have more fun playing Mr. Finn Edwards over here, while I have more fun playing Finn, I think Trish is just her at this point now. It's better. The stupid fucking kicking the hornet's nest with her should actually be illegal. Like that should be like you're not allowed to play this card, because that card basically just says like grab an enemy, gain some resources, and then choose to either evade that enemy and walk away, or gain 2 clues and then have someone kill that enemy. It's disgusting. And then there's the dumbest interaction in the world, where if you're playing with Lucky Cigarette Case 3, and you find your weakness off the deck in that search, you can put it into play, then you discover the clue, then you evade it and get rid of it. That is a dumb interaction. That is, like, absolutely garbage. And I wish it didn't work like that. But it is very powerful. It's very powerful. And Trish just, like I said, her card pool I think is the best in the game. It's a very powerful card pool. And her ability is very good. And her stat line is very good. She's a fantastic investigator. Ursula Downs. Put her in the A tier. No, nice try, Ursula. Nice try. I think she's a great investigator. If Trish had 5 intel, she'd probably shoot to S. 100%. 100%. Ursula has a lot going for her. You have to work a little bit to get her to 5 book, but her action efficiency is very nice. She's trying to get that free investigate an A+ after moving there. It's true. It's true. I don't have much to say about Ursula. I think her card pool is kind of poopy. Like, I've seen people do fun things with relics, but none of it has been particularly exciting to me or impressive. It's kind of just like... but I think her efficiency and her action on her ability is really good. And I do hope we'll see what happens with Travis's tier list, but I do always love the salt that comes out, the discourse whenever Travis puts like Ursula in the B tier. It always makes me laugh. So I hope it happens again this year. That would be kind of fun. That'd be kind of funny. And honestly, if someone said Ursula was in their B tier, I wouldn't bat an eye either. Like, I think she's good, but I think like she has to do a lot of work like Min does. But I think her ability is just, for me, action positive enough that it's in the A tier for me. But once again, if this was here, I wouldn't bat an eye. I'd be like, yeah, that sounds right. Wendy Adams, very strong investigator. Great stat line, 4-3-1-4. Once per turn or once per test, you can discard a card from your hand to draw a new token. Very strong ability. I think that Wendy still lives up here. I think she's a very good investigator. Obviously, she becomes even better with a good chunk of the cards that we have in Scarlet Keys. The Shroud Zero stuff seems absolutely wild for her. And then she can also take, the upgraded Breaking and Entering, because I think that's level 2. Great investigator. Absolutely fantastic. Will Yorick. Yeah, no, I think Will Yorick also lives up here. So yeah, I think then that for me personally, I put him above Nathaniel Cho, which then drops Silas to 7th best fighter. But Will Yorick, I mean, once again, the orders in these don't matter. It's just kind of like where they live at this point. But Will Yorick is a very, very, very efficient fighter. Will Yorick is a very, very, very good at not dying investigator. I know that didn't make any grammatical sense, but it is the truth, so you kind of just have to accept it. And also just that, like, you can do a lot of different builds with him. You can, like, basically every time there's now an asset, it shoots up Will Yorick's value, right? Double more so if that asset discards itself, right? Like, I think Will Yorick with the upgraded baseball bat can be a really good time. I mean, Will Yorick with the Derringers. Will Yorick with pretty much, like, any fucking weapon that exists can be a good time. Great investigator. Absolutely, Will Yorick is chef's kiss. Winifred Habermock. The Aviatrix. 1-3-3-5. When you commit 2 cards, non-weakness cards with different names to a test, you can draw a card. Limit once per test. I'm probably going to get a little bit of flack here, potentially, because I said that I thought she was the strongest of the starter deck cards. But then I'm gonna just put her in the A tier. I think she's great. I think she's like a good investigator. Like, she's a great investigator. But I just think that she's missing that little bit of oomph to really get her up into here with with this tier list, like this part of the tier list. But I do think that I mostly put her as the strongest just for like the discourse, you know, to have some conversation for the video, you know, drum up that engagement, and also because I do believe that she is very strong, right? That she is just like she's a very strong investigator. And she has a lot of juice to do good things, right? I think she's a very good clover, and I think she is an all right flex. I think she's good. Zoe. I made you out of clay. I'm gonna put her in the A tier. I don't think she's with these other fighters. I think she is like notably a tier lower than these other fighters. But she's still, 4-2-4-2 for her stats. She is the inverse Trish. And her ability is that when an enemy engages you, you gain a resource. She still has a fantastic ability, and Zoe's Cross is really good. But her stat line kind of just means that she's going to like really need to find some ways to boost up her fist in a way that like you might be thinking like, but Justin, why are you saying about Silas when Silas also has 4? Silas's entire kit is built around committing cards to tests. So like that's kind of like where it's like naturally built into the playstyle you want from him. And then if you don't need it, you bring the card back into your hand, right? With Zoe, she doesn't have that like built into her kit, so she kind of feels a little bit more. But she has a lot of cool stuff. She has a Dunwich Splash. She's still a very, very, very good investigator. And I like what Zoe does, and I have fun playing Zoe every time. Yeah, her with Spectral Razor is very sick. You can do a lot of cool things. Like I know Travis likes to put like usually a copy of like one of 6 cents. I did that recently as well in one of my Zoe decks, and it was fun to have. So like during those off turns, she can kind of flex a little bit. But I still think her stat line pushes her away from that like real top A+ tier for me personally. Okay. Whew. All right, we are in the last, was it 10? No, 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, let's go. I've actually played every Parallel Investigator now. And I am ready to talk about them all. And I have thoughts and opinions on all of them. Parallel Agnes. Same stat line as regular Agnes. I believe everyone but Daisy is the same. When did you play Parallel Daisy? I've been playing that on my own time, baby. But it is, she's 5-2-2-3. I think everyone but Daisy has the same stat line. And the opposite health and sanity, yeah. But her ability is when you play a spell, you may take a damage to reduce its cost by 2 and then shuffle that spell into your deck. I think she's great. I think she's fun. I don't think she is like a tier above. I might have said earlier in the video that she is a tier above, but I think she's just stronger than regular Agnes. But I think it's also just because like the playstyle is a bit more engaging for me. But Parallel Agnes is probably the most fun I had playing a Mystic in 2022. And I played a lot of Mystics in 2022. A lot. But I do think that Parallel Agnes is a very, very nice investigator. She's very fun to play. If you haven't played her, you should definitely try her out. She's very fun with a lot of the tools that exist in her kit. Parallel Daisy. So Parallel Daisy is 1, 5, and then 2, I believe is her stat line. Her ability is she gets +1 brain for every tome she has in play. And as a lightning bolt, she can activate the action ability on each tome she has. All right, so we've always been very hard on Daisy, Parallel Daisy. And I think in all fairness, it was kind of warranted in a way because her ability kind of like sucks. I mean, like, it's like a bad... Oh my god, I dropped my wedding ring because I was playing with it. It's kind of like a bad Diana Stanley, right? Right? And then like the lightning bolt to do each one of those things once is also not great. And then also like her Elder Sign kind of sucks. It's you get to return a book from your discard pile to your hand. However, with the geared up and backpack clarification, Daisy Walker has shot through the moon. However, I will say that Daisy Walker's ability at this point now kind of just becomes you get to play a geared up turn on turn 1. That's kind of Daisy's thing. And then like she can play other tomes, like now Schaffner's exist. She can hold that in a non-hand slot. In my playtests with this Daisy, I was able to figure out... So I was able to commonly hit 6 brain on turn 1, right? And she's very good at that. However, after that, you kind of just become stat machine. You're like, I am stat robot. I do basic investigate. And it's not exactly impressive because your ability is kind of just the fact that you play a bunch of things and then you like use those things like Scroll of Secrets 3 to get cards, right? What do you do with 6 brain with her card pool? You don't fail treacheries. That is about what I've noticed with her in my playing of her. However, I do think she is very good. After playing her a bunch, I think she's boring as fucking sin, but I think that she is in the A tier. Just because she has 5 book, and like she's just stat machine, but she doesn't have the same level of progressing the game that these investigators do, in my opinion. Like, I think that she is good. She's above good. She's great, but it doesn't do much beyond just have number big, right? But she's always on the watch list because as more tomes come, the better she gets. Parallel Roland. I hate this guy. I can't even tell you the number of times where I broke a rule and then I was like, fuck, that's right, I broke one of these damn directives that I have. I've only seen Parallel Roland a few times. And each time I've seen it, it's kind of like been the exact same directives. I tried experimenting with some of the other directives, and it was not a good time. But I do think that I'm going to put Parallel Roland in the C tier. Yeah, he should be. The blue 03 really sucks the life out of him. I have a funny story because I was upgrading the Runic Axe in his deck, and I was like, why the fuck can I not get this? Why is Arkham DB ruining my day? Saying that I can't have fun and do this upgrade. And then I looked and I was like, oh, really? That was a twist. I forgot that he was only 0 to 3 when I was upgrading him. But, like, he's still, like, I think perfectly playable. But I do think that if I had the choice between normal Roland and Parallel Roland, I would just take normal Roland. I think normal Roland is more fun than Parallel Roland. Because I think you could do cool things with Parallel Roland, but I don't think any of it is more fun than just, like, going 05, 02. Parallel Skids. Okay. Alright. I'm going to do it, chat. I'm doing it. No, I can't. I was going to put him in the S tier. I was gonna, but then I couldn't. I couldn't. He's not on this level. He's very, 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 very good. Like, Parallel Skids is a phenomenal investigator. But he is not on this level. I couldn't. In my heart of hearts, I could not do it. This guy is just, like, this level is, like, I think, like, these, I look at these ones and, like, they break the game. Parallel Skids, though, is, I think one of the investigators I have the most fun playing. I love to gamble. 6 Lucky is an S tier. Honestly, I think, though, that's actually the worst way to play Skids. I know there's a Kappa there, so I'm not, like, taking you at face value. I'm taking you at Kappa face value. But his ability to run Underworld support? Underworld support. That's whatever. There's too many cards with the same name in this game. The Underworld support, where you make your deck size 20 and then just load it with exceptional stuff and you get what you want, like, 70% of the time. It's very good. And his greed is very fun. But I think even with his greed, he can do a lot to, like, advance the game state. You give him the Black Fan, well connected. Downside is I think there's really, like, only... I think this A+ is, like, specifically, like, one style of deck of his. But he is, I think, the best player of that style of deck. You can still have 3 life. I mean, yeah, I was a big... I also thought that. I don't know if it's actually been officially clarified or not, because I've heard people say both ways. But I still think I'd rather spend my experience on more good green cards, because green cards are good. Okay. Amina Zidane. I think I have to put Amina in the not applicable, not able to understand Amina yet. We're going to see that with a few of these. Because I've heard that from people that she can be good. I've heard from people that she can be bad. And I have not experienced or seen her played, so I unfortunately cannot comment on it. But So, unfortunately, with Amina, you're going to have to wait till next year to get your critique. If I'm still alive by then. I could die, chat. I could die at any moment. Hopefully not. Carson Sinclair, 2s across the board. You have an additional action on your turn, which can only be used to activate the action ability below, which is give another investigator an action. Do they have to be in your location? Maybe. There was a lot of discourse about Carson. There was a lot of people who were very down on Carson, who felt that he would be a D-tier investigator. Yeah, they take the action immediately. I do know that, yeah. I've seen a lot of people also say that Carson is OP. I think Carson lives right in the middle. I'm going to say this as polite as I can, but I do think those people who are saying Carson is like OP are kind of still huffing the copium a bit. I think that Carson is a good investigator. I think I'm going to put him in the B tier. That's my take on him. I've seen him played, and I thought like what Carson did to impact the game was good. But I do think that we probably would have had a better shot at winning easier if any of these guys were involved. But I don't think Carson's bad by any means. I don't think Carson is a bad investigator. I don't think Carson is a particularly great investigator. I think Carson is just good. And honestly, that's probably the best case scenario for a design like this. Because if Carson was so bad that he was unplayable, that would suck. And if I was playing Carson, if Carson was too good, then you would need to like, some groups would be like, I guess we kind of want to do a Carson. And I think that he is, I do think he can be fun for certain playstyles. But I think he's just a good investigator. I think Carson is just nice and good. This is just the most level-headed, sane take that I can provide right now. Which is, I just think the guy's good. Charlie Kane, Vampire Hunter. 1s across the board. You can exhaust allies. You get +1, and then +1 for each matching of this test. Okay, I've heard a lot about Charlie. Unfortunately, though, I actually cannot talk about Charlie. I have not seen him played. I have not played him. So Charlie is one that I cannot comment on. However, I have heard a lot of good things about Charlie Kane and very little bad about him. But I do not know enough to give a reasonable grading because I haven't even seen him played. Yeah. But he does seem very fun. He seems like a very fun neutral character. And from what I've heard, he is a great guy. So that's awesome. Kamani Jones, 3, 2, 2, 5. Lightning Bolt. Engage an evaded enemy, an exhausted enemy at your location. And then when you would attempt to evade an exhausted enemy, add your book to your foot value. If you succeed by that enemy's remaining hit points, discard it. Kamani also, so their deck building is tools, and they also get experience at the start of the game. I think Kamani is fine. I think they're good. I don't think they're great. I don't think they're fantastic. I don't think they're broken. But I do not think they are like in the C tier. But I think they're just, for me right now, Kamani exists in this space. I think they're good, and I need to see more discoveries made. Like, I do think that I saw a deck that Descarpack played to game Forgotten Age. And I think Kamani's value does go up in Forgotten Age. Admittedly. I think Kamani's value goes down in Innsmouth. I do think, though, that the stat line kind of... You know me. There's only 2 stats I care about in this game. Book and Fist. Sorry, Joe Diamond. Rest in peace, brother. But, like, a 5-foot doesn't excite me, and the actions needed to defeat enemies with their ability is not most of the time it's going to level out to be the same. Like, I think unless you're gaming the situation like how you can game the Forgotten Age, it's not really worth it, in my opinion. However, we have to... That's funny, a student on sparse. We do need to see... I do need to see more of Keimani, but this is just kind of like my initial thought on the character. They're just good. They're just good. Parallel Wendy Adams. There's a lot about this character, but basically the gist of it is that you choose Bless or Curse, and then you get one of those decks. I think she is good. I played a Bless deck with Sister Mary, and it was a good time. So you can play Bless, Cursed, or like Paradox, and like use both. Deck size is bigger if you choose both of them. But I don't think... I think it's a fun Parallel Investigator, but I don't think it's a particularly... Like, I'm not going to look at Parallel Wendy and be like, yeah, that was I felt incredibly powerful. Like, you still get the Survivor card. You lose a lot of like the fun rogue tricks that she can play. And you kind of like lose her really good ability for the thing, which is just like you can put curse tokens and bless tokens on enemies, and it's not particularly impressive. I think I used it once in my campaign when I played her. We still had a great time. I still had a great time with her, and she like did the job, but I think she did a job that was like kind of just good for me. Like, you could argue that she's up here and I would accept it, but for me, she's in this tier. Vincent Lee, the Doctor. Where's Carolyn Fern? I think, like how they're the same person, I think that Vincent Lee kind of lives in a similar spot to Carolyn. I do think that On the Mend is better than One Resource. What a surprise. Justin, the guy who likes skill cards, thinks a skill card is better than a resource. Dark Horse Justin, you wouldn't say. But I just think that, basically it's like you heal a damage, and then you're like telling someone, hey, pass the next test you take, right? And I think that is a very nice ability, right? I think that's a very good ability. And it's like I think honestly, like, they're both the same. Like, they're the same investigator, right? Like, there's nothing there should be no surprises here that they're on the same tier. I think they're both just really good at what they do, and they're both fun investigators to play with some fun deck building. I am very excited to see them multiple throughout the next few years, assuming I don't die suddenly. I'm going to this again. I'm excited to see the multitude of Vincent decks that Travis brings to the table, because I know Travis is going to have a lot of fun with Vincent, and I think is going to do a lot of cool things with Vincent. Last investigator here, we got Daryl Simmons, 2523. His ability is he starts with his Kodak in play. His Kodak, you can take pictures of things, put evidence on it. You can spend evidence to reduce the test to -2. I don't think he's S tier. I think he's A+, though. I think the S tier people are kind of... his ability is nowhere near as good as Mandy's. You have to work for it in a way that Mandy doesn't, but his ability is very good. I think he's a great investigator, like fantastic even, but I do not think that he is living in this world. I played a purposely neutered Daryl Simmons deck in our Scarlet Keys run, and even then he was doing good things. He would be doing even more things if I was playing like a scavenging or a tested 0 build, but I still don't think he's S tier. I think he's very good, but I look at what all of these investigators do, and I think it's just inherently better, because like these guys all do their things with like very little work. Daryl Simmons actually needs to like draw the right card, take the picture, then his weakness kind of just like ruins all your progress. But I do think that he's a fantastic investigator. He might be up, he might be up in S tier. Is Daryl better with keyrings or the books? Which is the neuter version? I played no scavenging, no keyrings, and I played a Dark Horse skill-based Daryl, just a traditional survivor. But like he's still got stuff done, but I could definitely feel like he could be stronger. However, I'm basing this on Daryl I've seen and the Daryl I know that can exist because like he's literally in my wheelhouse, right? Like he literally is like my two favorite classes. So I know what Daryl is capable of, but I do think that these 7 investigators are all better than him. Easily. Don't even need to think about it. Don't even need to think about it. Wow. We've done it. We've done it, chat. I fully expect my video to be the longest for this. Travis is very direct. Bryn is also pretty direct about things. So I hope you enjoyed it. We'll just kind of go through the list. I'll also have a link down in the description to the actual image file that you can look at. But only one D tier this year. Sorry, Skids O'Toole. C tier is looking pretty nice. Congratulations, Lola. B tier, we got this going on. Looking pretty okay, if I do say so myself. Once again, the order on the tiers do not matter this year. I decided I'm too old to be caring about that. A tier, so this is when we get into the great investigators. The fantastic investigators over here in A+. And then are like amazing to almost borderline destroying the game investigators. Once again, the best way to look at this is I view this D tier as the investigator that you're going to like likely struggle the most with to win, but you'll still win because I think winning is very achievable in this game at this point. And then the S tier is the ones that you're going to have the least struggle to win with. Only 2 seekers below A tier sounds right. Yeah, I think those would be the 2 that I would point to. As I said, I could see an argument that Ursula can be here, but yeah. Seekers once again continue their dominance. Where's like the survivors? 3 below A tier. Who has the most? Probably Guardians. Yeah, looks like them Guardians, huh? I swear I'm not biased. I don't hate the Guardian class. I swear. I swear. Alright. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. As I said at the start of this video, Travis and Bryn will be doing theirs in the next 2 days. I'm always excited to see those because, you know, my favorite part of this game is the conversations that come from it, and then also the discovering how different people can like take advantage of the characters in the game. There's a lot of investigators and there's a lot of game in the game, and I always love hearing different people's thoughts on it. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great one, and as always, GG's.